Okay, so in this video, we're just talking about all the different questions and characteristics you can be asked to find or identify from a function in really any representation, but the two we've been looking at the most are these things that we call mappings, with these circles and everything getting paired to something in the right-hand side, or just plain old graphs. So we'll kind of go through this, we'll go through each. So to see if something's a function, what's important is when you look at your x's, are any of them getting reused? So in this case, 1 goes to D, 2 goes to A, etc. No one's going to two different values in the second bubble. So this is a function. 1-to-1 means that no y's can be reused. So now I'm looking over here and I'm seeing are A, B, C, D, or E, do any of them have more than one x value coming and getting mapped to it? And in this case, the answer is no. So that makes this 1-to-1. Okay, so again, 1-to-1 if none of the y's repeat. So this goes with y's. And function if none of the x's repeat. So function goes with x's. Okay, onto. So onto has to do with, if you look at the set that you're mapping to, so if you look at this whole right-hand side bubble, is there stuff that's in there that isn't getting used at all? So if the answer to that question is yes, then that means it's not onto. For it to be onto, everyone over here needs to be getting used, and in this case it's not. So this is not onto. Okay, the domain. When we're just looking at a bubble like this, all we really care about is what is the set of numbers or values or whatever that are getting used in the x value side. So in this case, if we look at the bubble on the left, it's really just 1, 2, 3, and 4. You don't even really have to make the set builder because it's really just a set of numbers that they end. As far as the range, you're only, again, using the ones that are getting used in your range. So C doesn't get used, so C is not in the range. Only A, B, D, and E. Okay, so that's identifying everything from a mapping. So now we look at our graph. So same set of questions. It's the same concepts, it just looks a little different when it's on a graph. So for a function, again, remember we're focusing on the x's, and the way that we tell if any x's are being reused is we draw a bunch of vertical lines. If there was an x that was getting reused, they would be stacked on top of each other, and these vertical lines would hit the graph somewhere more than once, and it's not. So this passes the vertical line test, so we say yes, it is a function. 1-to-1, remember, focuses on the y's. So since it's focusing on the y's, we would know if y was reused if we drew horizontal lines and it hit more than once. So in this case, this y value right here, if you drew exactly over, that y value is getting reused right there. So this is not 1-to-1. So again, if you want kind of to give those names, the function test is the vertical line test. The 1-to-1 test is the horizontal line test. Okay, onto. So this doesn't have a specific test that we call it, but if you remember from the bubble, the reason this wasn't 1-to-1 is because there was someone who wasn't getting used. Well, if you look at a graph, all the values you can see on the graph are the things that are technically in that bubble. So is there anybody that you can see that's not getting used? And the answer to that question is yeah, these guys down here, it's never hitting -1 or -2 or anyone below. So since that's the case, we say that this is not onto. Okay, so for domain and range, so domain, again, we're looking at the set of x values that are included. Well, because this parabola is only going to get wider and wider over time, if we were to zoom out, we can't put any restrictions on the x-axis. So in this case, we say that x has to be contained in the set of real numbers. So we have this fancy notation for it. Okay, and then the range, well, the range does have some restrictions. The range like we said, we never go below the origin, so that means in order to be a part of the range, you have to be bigger than or equal to 0. Notice how I'm using a y now because I'm talking about the range. That's important. If you're trying to tell me the range and you use an x, that can't be right because you're talking about the wrong variable. So that's an example of identifying everything from either a mapping or a graph.